Waiting on a new podcast? Look at this.
All right, we're recording.
Okay, perfect.
We did it.
Well, thank you. So you were saying you started off back doing to Chrome because yes, that's true. I saw your first video back in like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
That's where you started off.
it was terrible. I did because I didn't know how to do tech videos, so I came on and I said, I'm Steve Weiner, I'm a principal architect, and today I'm going to show you, like, I was trying to get through it like a professional business conversation, but right around the time, just for fun, I actually started streaming video games online with friends, not for anything. Just, I needed a hobby, and
Yeah.
it was great, and it was myself, and it was just for fun. But then when I was doing the tech videos, I said, these are so boring. I didn't like doing them. My friend Lisa, who runs the Discord server, she does a great job. She said to me, she goes, why don't you do the tech videos like you do the video game videos? She goes, just do you. She goes, be yourself. And all the stuff, the nonsense in your brain and the crazy. She goes, because there's no one doing that. She goes, I said, okay, like it didn't click to me to do that. And then it's also, I guess, how I work with, the customers I work with. And I try to talk to them, just in a very, not necessarily simple, but a very like, I'm going to help you type of way. It's just us talking, it's not a lecture. So I started doing it, and then it felt good. And it was around the time I released my migration solution. So I just kept going, and eventually I found the rhythm to it. And I guess it worked because I thought it was like, okay, I'm like, well, Lisa will watch it. Maybe my mom will watch it. And someone else, and I'll have a few viewers, but I didn't think we'd be over, like, now it's 3,000 subscribers. I didn't think it would be this much in a year, so it's really wild. Yeah, I'm still surprised every day. And yeah, it's kind of crazy to me that it became this big, and I love doing it, though. So people say, oh, you put so much content out. I just like doing it, so I found a schedule that works.
Actually, the first thing that I noticed, you write your name Steven, but you said Steve. But I think you are the real furniture fridge friend. Are you?
The characters to me are funny. I was a big fan of. So my sister does the pictures for me because a lot of people are using AI. And that's fine. It's not really for me. So they're just goofy, whatever, and she's good at that. And it's really what it is some people have caught on. It's a tribute to the show Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which is just nonsense, and I love it. And I just like that idea of just all these. So sometimes it'll be like I'll be in a real situation that I'll want to yell about, and she'll do the picture for that. Or sometimes she just makes the pictures, and I come up with something. But it's just for... it's just crazy stuff. It's like stuff just to make me laugh. And it's, that's kind of what I do. I don't put that much thought into it. I get a chuckle out of it. It's been working out. So she's got a good cast of characters now in it.
I mean, do you think a lot of people find it funny, or they just don't understand it? Personally, I love it. I mean, I tune into your videos just for that part, mostly. I mean, did you get like a positive reaction from it? From this?
The reaction, there was only one reaction once on YouTube. Someone said, I don't understand the thumbnails, like a picture of a pizza and a taco, and I don't get it. So, but once you start getting comments on YouTube, you take everything seriously. I'm like, oh, someone doesn't like so, but then you got to like step back. The internet's a big place. Not to say that everyone doesn't have a good opinion, but like most people were saying, I love this because it's so different. Like, and it's also that break we all need of like, again, you're not coming to my videos for fun and to relax at night. You're coming because most likely you're Googling how to make autopilot faster because you're having a problem at your job. And to come across, there's only so many times you can come across, hi, today we're going to take a look. And there's only so many of that, so much of the cake. So if someone walks by and sees me going, so I bought shoes and the shoes didn't fit and I got to return. It's just this like, we take a quick little breather, but don't worry because I know how to do this and I'm going to get you through it. And that's my thinking of it. So I think, I think it's been pretty positive so far. If nothing else, it's different.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, as well as your background. I mean, those action figures, and I think you published this video where you
Yeah.
showed your entire studio, and I saw this Sega Mega Drive, a picture on the wall, and another Ninja Turtles, things that I in my childhood
Yeah.
used to play with. I mean, now I'm thinking about it. Why did my mother and my wife throw most of these things away? But
Yeah.
I mean, there is one survivor. We found a survivor who kept everything.
A lot of it is repurchased. It's funny. My parents, we talk all the time. I'm like, if we would have just bought one for me to play with and one to keep packaged, the value of that would have been so much today. But it's funny because people were asking me if it's a real background. And I told my wife, she goes, why would anyone fake your mess? And she goes, who would green screen that? She goes, that's insane. So I was showing people. Yeah, it worked out. It's kind of funny because this wasn't even intentional. It was when I worked in an office for a while. I had a cube. All this stuff was in my cube. And then we all went home. I took these shelves were here in this basement empty. I just didn't use them. They were just here when I moved into the house. So it worked out. And I just brought what I always tell people is they say, oh, that's a crazy background. I said, well, this is where my wife lets me keep my stuff. And it just worked out. And, I guess it made for a good, and I couldn't put the camera directly in front of me because I had stuff there. So I put it to the side. It just worked out. None of it was intentional. It was just, I'll do the best I could and set it up. And I've left that camera in that position for 2 years now. It hasn't moved. So.
Yeah. Okay. So now, because of your background, you have a really, really cool background. With you just very open to show this all, and I think for me, I can relate to it because, like I said, it's from my childhood, and now you've been in this community work for 2 years, and now you are joining this year's Ignite as a tech contributor. So
Yeah.
how does it feel? I mean, this is your first time, isn't it?
First time as a contributor, first time as I think what really changed in May, I was awarded the Microsoft MVP. And my first thought was, they made a mistake. Because it was largely, I guess, because of the videos and the GitHub contributions. But what was really crazy is just around that time, I mean, the whole community, even before that, was very, very open community. Folks like Andrew Taylor, Andrew Jones, who've reached out to me and liked the videos, wanted to support the videos. Nominated me for MVP. So the community is it really impressed me because it was very much the opposite of, a long time ago. I was a drummer and I played in bands, and bands are the opposite. Musicians are very like, I'm the best and I don't want to let you in. And, everyone's got an ego. So coming to this world where the community is like, hey, you're really smart. Why don't we talk? I'd love to learn about your stuff. Or, hey, do you want to know what I'm doing? And I followed all these MVPs to learn stuff. I followed these blogs. These weren't strangers to me. Some of these, heroes in terms of like, and now they're talking to me like we're peers. So it's been really strange. And then, going to Ignite to speak. I'm happy to be going back in general because I went 3 times. I went in 2017, 18, and 19. And then, of course, because of the pandemic, they went virtual. And this will be my first time back. But yeah, speaking. So it's pretty wild. What was really big for me was I was just at MMS in just a few weeks ago, and it was very last minute. And I was sponsored by this platform I've been working with, the Zero Touch people, and they asked me to speak, and the MMS crew was, I mean, it was amazing. I always wanted to go to MMS, could never really made it out there, but yeah, that was a massive experience. So while I was there, I found out I would be at Ignite. As soon as I got done with MMS, I was invited to Workplace Ninjas UK in Edinburgh by Dean and Andy. And so it's just been a lot. It's been incredible. So yeah, it's exciting. Sometimes I think someone's going to catch on and go, "Oh, wait a minute. Why? What do you? No, we don't need you here. Don't go away." Like my first MVP call with Microsoft. It's all the MVPs. So, you got Rudy Ooms and Pete Vanderwood and Yannick and all these great names. And I thought they were going to say, "Okay, we're going to get started." Oh, sorry, sir. You gotta go out. You're not. It was weird to get used to, but like I said, they're great, and it's it's just wild. Yeah. It's a little surreal still, but I like talking, obviously. So I'm always excited to present. This will be a quick one at Ignite. It'll be like a 15-minute theater session. But what I'm hoping is it's enough to have good conversations after. I don't want to stand up and just talk for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I like to go back and forth with folks.
It's interesting. Then, I mean, going back to MMS and now coming the Ignite, I would just assume that behind this MMS, session, you have prepared. I don't know. Definitely you went prepared for, I don't know, slides. Demo. I mean, how did you do it for MMS? Let's start with MMS.
MMS is the best example because there was very little preparation. So the new product, the Zero Touch AI platform that I've been working with them, and they reached out to me and said, they're an Intune companion product, and they wanted MVP's opinions, and they reached out to me. They said they liked their fans of the videos, and they'd love to show it to me, and they did. And I was blown away. And if I'm excited about something, I'll talk all day about it. So, literally not even 2 weeks before MMS, they called and said, "Do you want to speak?" I said, "At this MMS?" They said, "Yeah, come speak with us, with our CEO, who's a great guy, and you two can co-present." Okay. And I guess we forgot to talk about what we would do. We just, booking the travel and getting down there and going to MMS. It didn't bother me. So we get there on a Sunday and we're like, okay, so Tuesday morning, what are we going to, so we realized that everyone had slides. So we put together some base slides just as a jumping off point. I think what was important is we want to talk about so many things, and the sessions are really nice at MMS because they're long, an hour and 45 minutes. Which is a lot of time, but honestly, that's not a lot of time to talk about everything we want to talk about. So we said, what are 5 things we want to make sure we show from the product and give generous amounts of room for? So we more talked about, and we were very aligned. Sometimes you meet with folks and you're not aligned in the way you present. This was a very good back and forth. So we agreed on the 5 things we wanted to show. And the slides were just slides to me are always just a backdrop. I don't want anyone looking at the slides. If they're looking at the slides, I'm not doing a good job, to stare at a slide. I could email you a slide to look at. There's no reason to, So we just kind of got through our things, and we ended up just going off and improvising. And I think when people are passionate about what they're talking about, they don't need as much prepared content. I mean, obviously there's points we want to land on, and it worked out. And then there's a generous amount of time for Q&A. That's why they make them so long. And the crowd just had a lot of questions, and it was great. So yeah, that would be an example of that's the best example because there's no preparation. Usually I make the slides for the organizers so they feel comfortable. Because if I tell most people I don't need slides, I'm going to walk in and just talk, they're not they're not happy. They get very nervous unless they know.
Yeah. But did you present a demo to show them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
we had our laptops and we had the console open, and I prepared some. That's probably more what I prepare. I had like a virtual machine to show as a client. I had the platform open, but yeah, I mean, it was there to support what we were going to talk about. But like I remember at one point we were showing like remote actions, and I said, you know what, I want to show you this remote PowerShell thing. I know it wasn't planned, but I want to show it. And we went through it, and immediately people were asking questions, so we spent time on that. It was just very, it was interactive in a way where I know people are going to take that experience away because it meant something to them, that they felt the need to participate, almost like without even thinking about it. Like they saw something like, oh my, tell me about that, So yeah, that's exactly the type of session I like to give.
Most of the you know people that or the IT community, they always do MMS. They do all these cool sessions, and they come out from those sessions. They just write like a post how impressive it was and how much they met people, and or they would just do like a short video where they say we had an incredible attendance with participants and how the slides were, they demo blah blah blah. But after every session I think you've had, you came out with those short videos where you had an obstacle with Starbucks or on the slide door. That was just hilarious. I mean, then you just added in the end or at the beginning that everything was great. You had, just like really in the beginning or in the end, you just say we had a great session. Yeah. Folks, learned something. But then I had, I was stuck in Starbucks in this queue for just just.
It's
yeah, it's
part of it is I mean, again, it's things that make me laugh. So I think you have this,
but it didn't send me the message that you were as excited as now. I mean, now it seems like you were blown off from the people you've met from this MMS experience itself. But during those short videos, it feels like it's something that you do every day.
He's miserable
but
down
what's
there.
important to me,
he's miserable.
What's important to me, I mean, why would they serve vegetables in the first place?
I like, and I think you understand. So I like the idea of, and it almost becomes a character. Like there's a character, and it's me, but I'm in this basement all the time, and I'm doing these things. But now, as an MVP, I'm being asked to go all these, so I didn't want to change to be everybody else. I want to be like, well, what happened if you took this guy who's in the basement all the time and complains about these things? If you put him in MMS, he's going to do the same thing. He's not gonna. He's not going to change. He's gonna. It's great. The session's great, but what happened to the cookies? I didn't get a cookie. They put cookies out, and there's not. It would be the same thing. And at the end, the post I made was like, because it keeps me grounded. Because what'll happen is I met all these folks from Cloudway in one shot. Sandy, Simon was there. I met Yannick, and that is surreal to meet these people, and for them to say to me, "Hey, I love your videos." That's like so much to me. I almost have to ground myself and be like, okay, I'm still me, and I'm going to go complain about a vegetable. But then at the end, when I sat down there, I remember once it's over, like I was waiting for my car to pick me up to the airport, and I just sat down. And I think the last one I made said, "This has been surreal to be here because it really is. There's no words for it, and it's, and I think that's what makes it fun. It just feels so surreal, and it's just just blown away, and everyone's a great person, and everyone's just they're all just people doing their thing. So it's it's wild. Johan came up to me and just tapped me on the shoulder. I didn't even realize because you don't recognize people in person all the time. So it takes me a second to figure out who they are, and they're telling me they're a fan. And then I got a really quick way, oh my God, like I'm a big fan of yours too. Like I just realized who you are. So some of it was weird though, because some folks would come up to me and say, "Oh, you're Steve Weiner. Like, do you mind if we can get a quick picture with you so we can show people that we met you?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. Who am I?" And then my wife will ground me real fast, and she goes, "Who wants your picture? Like, for what?" So yeah, I just try to keep everything grounded and rooted to just the way I am, and I think that's what makes it just that kind of keeps the engagement up. So I'll see. That was the
Yeah.
first time I did that at that level. So I'm sure I'll do similar stuff at Ignite. I don't really think about stuff. I just kind of do, and
Yeah.
I see how it turns out. you know.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the next question. If you don't have to, don't say anything, because I think through Microsoft NDA that
Yeah.
they are stressing you out definitely. So, with the Ignite session now,
Yeah.
are you preparing for something? Are you allowed to say something? Yeah,
Yeah.
because I spoke with the others. They were like, yeah,
Well, I'm not.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not doing a major session. I'm doing a 15-minute theater presentation and it's sponsored by SHI, and it's going to be basically just about the transition. It's going to be like a real world account of the transition I made from helping folks with modern. It's called. I think it's called Zero Touch to Zero Trust, and it's basically I'm just going to talk about starting off helping with Intune, autopilot, modern device management, and then now pivoting to Defender and cloud app security, and
Oh, isn't it?
yeah, because my team, because that's where I work. I work at SHI, right? I'm a principal architect of. Basically, this is what we do. We implement modern endpoint and security, and around 2021. We've just done Intune and autopilot till then. Our customers were asking us to help them with Defender. And this is right when the E5 suite started including all that, and they had the full Zero Trust product line. So it became very organic. So it wasn't like we sat there and said, well, what are we going to, what do we want to do for people? We listen to what people tell us they need us to do. And that seemed to work. So it'll just be a 15-minute on like, hey, if you're taking the cloud native journey, this is what you should be looking at next. So, yeah, there's a lot of sessions. There's a lot of NDA stuff. There's a lot of the big, they're going to show new product features, and I'm excited to see those. But yeah, mine's going to be just pretty straightforward and,
Okay.
just some real world stuff.
Really cool. Okay, then because within 15 minutes, I mean, to cover such a big ground, it's nothing basically. So I would assume that what you'll be doing from a high level perspective, but then is your session will be like live or like recorded? Can we tune in to see you?
I don't think they're going to record it. I don't know. I don't think they are. But honestly, it's I don't think, and this is going to sound odd, I don't think the session alone, I don't think it's going to be worth, like it's probably not worth streaming anywhere, because it's probably more about the experience. I want to be able to use it as a talking point and then have conversations with people there who are in that journey so I can help them. It's not really about my session.
Okay.
It's about, here's what I've been doing and what I'm seeing other customers do. So if you're in the same boat, let's talk about it. And then I'm going to be doing at the booth, because SHI is going to have a booth set up twice a day for every day at Ignite. I'm going to do a live like whiteboard with an MVP thing, so folks can come to me and with an issue, and we'll kind of solve it together right on the show floor. So I'm hoping to meet and help a lot of folks out there. Yeah, that'll be interesting as well.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Something that I am struggling with, which is how do you cope up with work, family, and social media? I mean, I am happy if I just produce one video a week, but for you, it's like a daily thing. I mean, is this part of your job? Is it, or this is part of your passion? I mean, how do you do it?
It's my passion. If I am passionate about something, I become a bit obsessive over it. So it's harder. It's hard not doing it. Like if I have, let's say a family obligation, like a party on a weekend, I stress out about, okay, that's one day I can't think about ideas or write a blog or plan the videos or at least get some filming done. Like, so it starts to bother me. I have a pretty good system. I'm set up in a way where I can work, and then if need be, I could just flip on the studio lights and start recording an idea. And some of it doesn't become a video. I'll watch and be like, that was nonsense. I don't want to record that. But then if I'm onto something, or if I know I'm going to do something, so it's very easy for me to do it. So what I can do is, before I start my day job, I film. Generally, I just do the filming, and I just leave it there. And what I'll do is then after work, I'll do the editing for the next day and publish it.
Oh, okay.
Lately, I've been doing more written content because I had the written blog for a long time, but honestly, I thought I was terrible at it. I don't think I write that well, but lately, folks have been asking for written content to go along with the videos, and then it occurred to me that, well, everyone learns in a different way. So what I've been doing now is I've been doing a written series on how to get started with Intune from a non-technical perspective. Mm-hmm. And I did start a members channel on YouTube, really just because I wanted to do more, and I wanted to do more non-technical videos, but I don't think it's for everybody. So I put it behind, and it was like the lowest thing you could pick. It was like a $4 membership a month. But I figure for $4, I'll give people 3 extra videos a week, and it'll be deeper, longer conversations about my experience and consulting. And so that's what I've been doing.
But non-technical perspective, isn't it? This is what I don't get.
Yeah.
So, how is it like a high level? Is it like for managers? Who are your audience in this?
I think it's the admins, but I think if you are an endpoint admin, there is a technical and a non-technical aspect to your job. Let me put it this way: take group policy migration. Technically, that is not a very hard task. If you were to say to me, migrate these group policies, I can do the analytics in Intune, see the policies, migrate the ones that are there. And the ones that don't work, I can find manual workarounds. That's really not a highly technical task.
Yeah.
But if you ask anyone who's doing that, they will tell you it's painful. And it's painful because of all the pieces around it, having to deal with the folks who don't understand, having to talk to people who say, well, we need our group policies. And they're just not educated. So it's everything around it. And I would say it's the emotional, the psychological pieces of it becomes draining, because as somebody who's been trying to preach cloud native, I still talk to people and they say, we have to be domain joined. And I'm like, well, no, you should be cloud joined. Well, we don't even know what that is. And it's 2024. And for a lot of folks, they struggle with this every day. The Intune will release something. They want to implement it in their organization, but they have to deal with security. They have to deal with Microsoft, the Active Directory admins, they have to deal with. So there's all these things they have to navigate. And as somebody who's worked with almost 2,000 organizations now, I've done it. I've helped people navigate this. So I want to share that part too. And I realized that wasn't for everyone. So that's why I put that in the members channel. I figure, well, if someone cares, I'll watch. But the feedback's been great. Because I didn't know. It's like anything I do. I don't know if people are going to like it, but people have said, I love this content because this is the part no one talks about. No one talks about. I just did one about group policy. I did a written blog on it. And it reads, I think it's funny, but it talks about how, I get it. You didn't write your group policy. Some other guy did. He wrote it years ago. He's not there anymore. And no one ever. It's the same story. And no one's talking about that part. I
mean, this speaks to me right now. I mean, first, it speaks to me from a perspective of the pain I have to go through every time I have a customer. They say, yes, we had someone who configured something, GPOs or whatever, and we are lost in those 1,000 GPOs which we need to migrate. Okay, then why we do? Then you check them out. It's just pain through pain, and this is just incredible, because first the guys in the IT community, they go commercial, but they go technical, like really deep technical. But for you, no, you went the other way. You're discussing why and why is it painful? How do you and why is it painful? What is it that you are trying to achieve, and how what and how you may achieve these results, and what are the options? This is pretty smart, actually. You always find something to maneuver around.
Well, it's I think everyone has a niche, right? Like Rudy Ooms, right? Rudy Ooms writes. I can never produce content at his level. I mean, he will go down to he will drill down into the code and drill down more, and I think that's valuable. But I think if you were to look at, let's say he does that with Laps, the admin password solution, and he drills down, and here's why it happens, and here's the events, and you can queue this event to this code, and that's interesting for me. The problem is my customer has no idea about any of that. My customer has to deal with the security folks to implement Laps and figure out how to come up with a compromise of the policy. They have to figure out, so my customer isn't worried about that. They're not at that level. Even some of the stuff when I get into graph videos, I always get folks who say, you lost me a little bit there, or so it's not about smart or not smart, it's about where you are. And I think what's very interesting about Intune is Microsoft has quietly committed to saying, if you are an endpoint manager, you're going to have to learn PowerShell and Graph. They won't say that, but successful ones will. So I'm trying to break everyone into that. But to me, it's always more than just technical. I like I said, I've implemented Intune and Autopilot about 2,000 times in the last 4 years, 2,000 different customers. And it's the same story. If you put me in a room and said, set up our Intune and Autopilot for us and make it work, I don't know, an hour and a half. But these engagements take weeks or even months, and it's because of the people and the habits. And I can't let go of. I've been imaging for 20 years. I can't not image. So it's not the technology; it's the people. And I think that's part of the problem when Microsoft says go cloud native, go cloud native. Yes, technically it is now doable. The problem is just how do you do it in your organization, Yeah, so I figured I would try talking about it, and it's been successful. So I'll see the members. We're up to like 50 members, which is really good. Who are
congratulations?
Thank you, and it helps, right? It's not about making money; it's about just being able to support the content. But we'll see. I might open that type of content up to the broader. I don't. The one downside with producing as much content as I do is I don't get that much time to think and plan ahead. I plan out about a week in advance. Like I have my joke is I have a notepad. There's 2 notepads on my screen. One is tech ideas and the other is stupid, silly rants in the beginning. And the rants there's more rants. But the tech side is like, I'll see something, I'll see a blog, I'll see a video, I'll see a tool, I'll take the link, I'll put it there, and I'll say to do in videos. But anything that's topical comes up first, so if there's a major issue, I do that. And that's kind of just my rolling, so I always have a good week planned, but it's just the way I am. I don't plan that far in advance. I probably should, but I just don't, because people ask me in the beginning, they said, well, how did you plan this? So I said, I didn't plan anything. I put a friend told me what camera to buy. I know nothing about cameras. He told me, buy this camera. This is what you need. I don't know anything about film. I couldn't tell you what this is or the frames, or I don't know any of that. So I put that there and I started talking, and I got to this formula of like joke, intro, finish the joke, do the video, end the video. Like now I'm used to it, but I just keep doing it. And if it keeps working, I'll keep doing it. I don't want to sit down and be like, okay, here's what the next 6 months of Get Rubik's is going to look like. Like I just don't work. My brain doesn't work that way. So yeah, it's been, I forget what the question was. It was about that the non-technical content.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. One thing that I found, what I was impressed with is the what do you called it first you called it tenant to tenant device migration, but then you
Oh yeah,
change it to Intune device
Intune device
migration, I think.
migration, or yeah, it's
Yes.
that's kind of how this got started. The story behind that was in 2021, a customer, very big customer, came to me. It was a pharmaceutical company. It was 15,000 users, and they were splitting into two companies. And they said we got to move we got to move half the devices. So maybe it was 6,000 or something, and we got to move these to a new tenant. And they were working with me, but they were also working with Microsoft. Microsoft said you have to, and they were fairly new. Every device was less than a year old, brand new Surfaces. They said you have to wipe each device, unenroll it from
Mhm.
Autopilot and Intune, and then register it in the new Autopilot and redeploy. And they said, how long is that going to take? I said, well, you can imagine how long it takes. They said, no, we don't want to do that. Is there another way? And Microsoft said, no. So I said, Steve, what do you think? And for some reason, I always had this idea about doing that. I had no reason to do it, but I had the idea of using the provisioning package. Because the provisioning package, I think, is kind of a best kept secret. A lot of folks don't know how powerful it is, that it's this little thing you can put in Windows and Windows will go do stuff for you. But I knew about the token, the bulk enrollment token. So I'm like, well, wait a minute. If we can use that package to tell the device where to go, and that's how I started. I'm like, I'll figure out everything around it. So the first test was use, it was two things. It was use PowerShell to unjoin from the current tenant with a graph command, and then run that package. And it was messy, and it didn't account for all the user stuff, but it did it. It unjoined, rebooted, and they could sign into the new tenant. I'm like, we just migrated. I didn't care about anything else at first because I didn't do this from, I'm going to develop a product. I did it to solve a problem. So I didn't care how
But
quick it
then
was. Yeah.
it just migrated the device as an object.
Yeah.
But however, the data, the files within the device, it's just kept there.
It was in the other user.
It was kept
It
in.
made a new user account. Yeah, it basically made, so in the tenant, when they sign into the target, so if I'm Steve Weiner at DunkinDonuts.com and I left, that Dunkin' Donuts account is still on the device, but now I signed in as Steve Weiner at Starbucks. And now I have a Starbucks account. All my data is in Dunkin' Donuts, but I got the device migrated. So now I had to figure that part out. So it was like, okay, step one,
Okay.
make sure I can move the device. There were no traces of it in the source, and it enrolled in the destination. I didn't think that far ahead because I didn't think it would work. So it worked. And then they were like, great, now what? I'm like, I don't know. I guess we'll have to figure out the rest. I had some crazy ideas. I was trying to move I tried to make a temp directory in the public folder, dump all the old files out, move them back over after. It was very messy. I tried doing it through blobs. Eventually you just start over complicating things. But the best part of having a really strong team is people telling me how stupid I'm being sometimes. So some of the folks I work with forever, they said, this is never going to work. You can't move the data this way. It's going to take too long. And what are you going to do if someone has 200 gigs of data on a 500 gig laptop? There's not enough room to move it. Then finally, someone told me, they said, you can change the SID of a folder. And I didn't even think about that part because I never bothered to look into that. So after going down that rabbit hole, I realized we can take the old folder, sign into the new tenant, take the new SID, and swap them. Make the new SID attach to the old folder and delete the new profile. So now they're signing in. The account is the new account, but all the data is from the old profile. And that was...
And this through the PowerShell?
Yeah, everything's through PowerShell, and that's what did it. And it was all about sequencing and timing, tasks, and it worked. It worked really well. And I decided to put it all on GitHub, and that's how it got better too, because there's been many versions on GitHub, and that was the point of the Discord. The Discord started because when I put the first solution out there, people wanted to ask questions in YouTube. Oh, I'm having trouble. What do you do for this? I would say, oh, what error are you having? Email me the logs. And my friend Lisa said, you can't do this in YouTube. This is not what it's for. I said, what do you want? She goes, we need a Discord channel. She goes, and if they want to troubleshoot, they'll go to Discord. I didn't think, I mean, I was looking today, it's 860 people in the Discord, including many MVPs. I didn't think that was going to happen. It was just so people can ask me for help with the solution. And I learned a lot from it because now everyone's testing in many different scenarios and I can take all that feedback. Got a little overwhelming because I want to help everyone, but couldn't. But I think everyone understood it was a community solution, and I got great feedback. And thanks to that community, right, I think the solution's better from everyone's feedback and testing. So I'm working on a new version. So I'm always trying to make it better. But as of today, it's working pretty good. And then, someone used it to go from domain to cloud without switching tenants.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
I saw the transition of this migration tool, and the way it was first 4 restarts. The device has to go through 4 restarts, and then with the V6, I think, it got to 1.5. I think now. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Now you're shortening the process. Now with less process, less timing, less pain for the user. I mean, was this only developed by you, or it was like a joint work from the Discord community?
Well, the Discord community had a bunch of great feedback for me to think about. They would say, hey, when you do this, should think about this, or see if you can make this. But I didn't really have a system to accept code as much. But my lead architect, and his name's Jesse, and he's been on my show a while, and I've known Jesse for 15 years. So we've been working together a lot. So he helped with some of the PowerShell. He's great at PowerShell. And we also have a developer we work with, a graph developer, and he was able to help me with some of the API calls to make them more efficient, because I'm not a developer. I'm not a programmer. I know PowerShell, and I'm a wannabe. I would love to be a coder. I'm not. So I enjoy it. I love doing it, and I try my best, but I'll write something, and then he'll say, this is twice the amount of lines it needs to be. But I learned from that. I like when people show me, because now I learn for next time, but that'll give me an idea. I'll say, whoa, well, if I can make that part better, maybe I can make this part better. And then, the community will say, hey, did you know that here's another command to do something with? It might be better in this part, because, there's so many ways to do everything. So it's also hard, because if you were to take every idea, you would never have a product. So it's a balance of saying, what'll really make this better, what's worthy of a new version. But it's like when I get a chance. So it's like if it's working now, I tend to leave it alone, because a lot of folks are using it. I would say, based on my counts from the public and the organizations I've done, we've migrated 100,000 devices in the last 2 years. Which is good. Microsoft, they don't support the migration. They support wiping and loading. And they said this when I did the first customer, but my thought was, well, if it doesn't work, we'll wipe and load. We can't be any worse off than that. Like, if it breaks, we wipe the device. But in many cases, folks will say this worked for 80 or 90% of our fleet, and the rest we had to wipe. I call that a win. If they can migrate that many devices and wipe some others, because I would agree. Like, I got attacked in a Microsoft message board when I first put this up, and they said, this is absolutely not the way to do things. It's much better to wipe. And I said, I agree. I very much agree that wiping a device and re-enrolling it is a lot cleaner and is perfect. I said, but not everyone can do that.
From my experience, if I tell my customer that we have to wipe 5,000 devices, he will just hang up on me right away. It's not practical, and nobody can do it. It's impossible, even for small NGOs. It's like no, it's no go.
Yeah.
But if you would prioritize these best scenarios, from best to worst scenarios for this specific tool, which first scenario you say this tool it just works perfectly for this specific scenario or scenarios?
If you are moving from one tenant that is cloud only, so Entra join, Intune managed, no hybrid, no co-management, and you're just moving devices, it's nearly perfect. I can say with confidence. The other use cases can be tricky. Hybrid join implies group policy, and just because you leave a domain, group policy doesn't go away. So sometimes there are things left on the device that break the solution, and we have to figure that out. And there's only so much you can try to figure out each time before you finally have to say, look, this is not a good candidate for this. And sometimes we do find the solution and we can write something just for one organization. The other is co-management tends to be a problem sometimes because even the presence of the client, of the SCCM client going to Intune only, causes issues. It also seems to be a problem for acquisitions. When a company is acquiring a new company, it's you don't know what they have. So to run this tool on an unknown device, it's not like we know, oh, well, we're going to inherit these devices and they all have this group policy and these apps. No one knows. So there might be something that breaks it. Antivirus can break the tool. It might not like the provisioning package running. There's a lot of prereqs now I've added. I finally created a separate site, a documentation site that's all about the tool and explains it. But yeah, I would say Intune to Intune is still the best case scenario. And in some cases, domain to cloud is working really well. It just depends on policy. So, it's one of those things where it's worth exploring. And if it works, I'm really glad that it works. I would never want to be in the business of selling it or,
Okay, but you have, from your videos, you have established quite of an environment. You have like on-prem technology. You have different Intune tenants.
Yeah, I try. It's hard to do.
Did it take you a while to build such an infrastructure, and how you managing? Because I would assume that this run on costs, operational cost, because you are doing this, as per mindset, from personal level and not commercial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
for me, I would just, because it seems like you're investing a lot.
Yeah.
But you're asking for little. Like you're now it's $4 for your YouTube channel for a member, which is it's basically nothing. One subscription of yours in on-prem or Intune, that's nothing.
Well,
how do you go around that?
It's tough. So it's not as terrible as it sounds. So I was fortunate enough early on to become a part of the developer program where they would give you the 25 developer E5 licenses, and at that point, the on-prem stuff, for the on-premise stuff, I always had some form of an on-prem server. Now I have these little Nook boxes that act as my domain, so that's always evolving. I've always just tried trial licenses and respun up trials, kind of what everyone else does. The developer program was good because it gave me something I didn't have to renew. So I had most of E5, but then once I started, so it was enough for me to do Intune and Autopilot, but once I started showing more, I just started buying the licenses. So I had to buy 2 E5 licenses. I had to buy the Intune Suite when it came out. I had to buy it because I wanted to show it off,
That was a panic. I saw your video on the Copilot for security,
Copilot.
And you were panicking. I could see it from your eyes. You were panicking. Okay, guys, let's do it. Let's explain it really quick.
I have a very good friend at Microsoft, and I called her that morning, and I said, "Am I going to be able to turn this off?" And she said, "You can turn it off." She goes, "I don't know how long we keep your data." I said, "I don't care about it. You can have my whole life. I don't want you billing my credit card." I said, "You take all the data. I don't care about the data." She's like, "We might retain the data." It's not, I think that's an interesting situation. Yeah, I wanted to show it, and I did. And what was funny is halfway through the video, it broke. And so I had to spin up another core. So I had to spin up 2
Oh.
cores. Now we're up to $8 an hour. And then I was able to finish the video. It was my fault because I didn't realize 1 wasn't enough. But I don't. That's an interesting thing for me. I think Microsoft needs to figure that out a little bit. And I think it's a little ominous right now to say to someone, yeah, you should have 3 of these cores per hour, spin them up and let them go. And it's like, how do I know I need more? What do they do? What do I get for more? How do I turn them off? What do I like? There's too many unanswered questions right now. I think the capability is amazing. I think it'll get there, but I think right now, I think those are the questions. And again, coming back to the way I approach things, that's what people want to know. No one can focus on the cool stuff if they're thinking, how do I operationalize this? So that's always a problem. So when I took that approach, it was like, look, I get it. It's scary. I'm scared right now. Let's just watch the cool stuff and I'm going to turn it off because I didn't really understand it either. So I knew I was going to be able to turn it off, hopefully. And I did that, but yeah, it's there's some cost to it. And now that I'm an MVP, there are some benefits being an MVP. They do support you with some Azure stuff and licensing, so it's gotten a little better. But I've always invested in myself, right? So it's like if I wanted to learn something and I couldn't get something from a company, some people say, well, if they're not going to pay me, I won't bother learning it. I understand you shouldn't be, but here's the thing. I want to learn. I want to invest in myself, and I recommend to everyone an E5 or an E5 license is $50 a month. So if you just want to learn and you want to learn Defender and all this stuff for the $50 a month, you can get yourself a lot of education, right, by having this in your environment. So, I understand some folks say, well, I have nothing to test with because my employer won't pay for the lab. They should. I agree they should. No argument there. But at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to lose out. So if you want to grow your skills, not for a specific company, but for yourself in general, I think it's worth investing a little bit. I understand financially it is difficult. These are not cheap products, but that's the way I've always looked at it. Like if I wanted to test something and be able to help people with it, I would have to learn it. So same way I would buy a computer, right, for myself, or I've spent a lot of money on stupid stuff, right? I've upgraded my phone more than I've needed to. So it's all just how we prioritize that. A lot of it's principle, and I understand, but yeah, you'll never lose if you invest in your own growth. That's the way I look at it.
It is. I mean, it is. I got approached a while back from one of the IT community, and they were like, and he was like, why don't you do a podcast about Copilot? And I was like, Copilot for security in Intune. He was like, yeah. I told him it's just one button, just turn it on and you will start to hear your credit, the money will drain from your account. It was like, we can't really test it, maybe you can show it off. So then I was like, there's nothing to show, it's just one button. Then I searched a little bit and I found Yannick's article. Then I approached him and he was like, we can show the embedded Copilot experience in Intune, or we could talk about the center portal.
Yeah.
And how to do it. And I told them, okay, we don't have to go from a technical perspective where you create all these computer units and so on. Just show us a demo and that's it. I'll just go with him, and he said, now you can personalize it in terms of organizational level. You can have your own data, you can protect it, and it was interesting. I didn't even imagine it. I was not really totally aware, even though I'm heavily invested in Intune, but I wasn't really aware that you could actually make it customized for an organization.
Yeah.
But then we started to talk about the cost and so on. But you already know.
Yeah, it's
but
hard.
It is. But now with Copilot on its status now, do you think? Do you think smooth things coming for Copilot in Ignite, for this year? In which direction? Because personally, I think they will really focus this year on Copilot rather than the Intune as an MDM, as Windows, as iOS and Android. In which direction do you think they will go?
I think we're going to get hit with Copilot and AI from all directions. I think at Ignite, you're going to be so sick of the word AI. No, I mean, I look at it like this. So my thoughts are, I think this year, the first thing I said about Copilot last year is when I had folks started asking me about it. And I said, you are struggling to not join the domain. Now you want AI? Like, what world does that make sense? Like, on 1 minute, I'm like, you really need to cloud join your devices. Well, we're comfortable with on-prem. And now you're like, talk to me about AI. I'm like, why don't you clean up your house before we buy new furniture? Why don't you, what are you talking about? I said, what do you think this AI is going to tell you? It's going to tell you to move your stuff to the cloud. So for me, the interesting thing was, I think that, if you look at the Microsoft stack as a whole, right, the endpoint, the security, the identity, all the cloud tools, I think the Copilot is a shiny carrot dangling to say, hey, do you want Copilot and AI and all this productivity? Start bringing your things to the cloud, because a lot of folks are slow to do it. So it's a very good incentive. I like catalysts for change. Copilot, Windows 11, Windows Hello for Business, all new shiny things. But in order to do them, you have to start moving to the cloud. You got to stop dragging your feet. So I think Copilot is their biggest, how do we get more cloud adoption, which they should have. So Copilot is a very nice incentive. Maybe your organization struggled to get to the cloud, whether it's Exchange or identity or endpoint, and now the CIO says, we're going to adopt AI. And everyone in the middle says, well, we can't unless we might. So that's my thought from it. I can see that perspective, and I've seen it, right? So many folks are doing data labeling protection and purview type stuff now, just because you need that for Copilot. You have to have your data organized so that Copilot doesn't tell John something they're not supposed to know at their level. So it's exposed a lot in terms of security. There's a lot to it. I think there's a certain commercial aspect that's shiny and exciting to get people involved. One of the things I really wish changed this year for me is I'm a big fan of ARM chips, right? Windows on ARM, the Snapdragon PCs.
Okay.
And I've wanted Windows on ARM to be a thing for so long, because whether you like Apple or not, Apple made magic with their silicon and their computers. It's unrealistic what they've built. So it'd be nice to see Windows get there. But the branding as a Copilot PC for me was like, oh, well, that implies something that's like, but I understand you can't tell consumers, hey, Windows on ARM is here. They're going to go, what's ARM? What's the significance of that? So I understand it. I just wish Windows ARM didn't get buried in all that, because I think they made a lot of good improvements.
Yeah, okay. Man, I mean, if we keep on talking, it's like a never ending. Now, just to close up.
Yeah.
What is your advice for someone who just started out, in Intune? Let's just focus on Intune now.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you think? What's your advice? Create, subscribe to a I don't know, to create, a new tenant, Intune tenant. Just test with it, or follow your channel, which is, I will definitely advise everyone to subscribe to your YouTube channel. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah,
or is a good starting point?
Having a tenant is the best place. If you were to go look at, the licensing of Microsoft is so confusing. But if you were to look at, in the most basic sense, it's called the Enterprise Mobility Suite. That gives you Intune and Entra. It gives you the pieces you need to cover most of what I talk about. Start with a trial. Anyone could go sign up for a trial, make a new tenant, make some users, put a device in. You just got to start, right, by doing it and seeing for yourself. That's the best way to do it. And of course, following, there's a lot of great blogs, there's a lot of videos. find one that works for you, because everyone's different. Some people don't want to watch anything. They want to read something, right? Some folks want to just look at the Microsoft documentation. They're missing a lot of stuff, but so everyone's different. So find what works for you, but do it with a lab. Do it with a tenant. You don't need hard. You can literally do it on your computer with a cloud tenant, and you can make a little virtual machine or get just a spare PC, anything to do it. If you want to manage mobile devices, get an old phone, go on eBay, buy a very cheap Android phone from 4 years ago. I mean, literally anything,
Yeah.
and just get started. I think that's the best thing. And then trying to learn a platform is complicated. It's better to have a focus. I always say this. The question I get asked about with Intune, I also get this with PowerShell a lot. What's the best way to learn PowerShell? And buy this book and read this. Here's the thing. So pick a problem and solve it. Because if you're trying to focus on one problem, you'll start Googling for the one problem and you'll get examples of that. And through fixing that problem, you'll learn a lot about the platform, whether it's PowerShell, Intune. But if you have that focus, that'll keep you going, because you know the end state. The end state is, I'm trying to enroll this PC in autopilot, right? Along the way, you're going to learn a lot. Trust me, you're going to learn all things you didn't know. It's like these little rabbit holes, but they all come back to the goal.
Oh, okay. So what you're saying is just to focus on one platform, which is, let's say, Windows, for example, and then you try to gather all the experience and then move on to Android and the iOS. I think this is a really solid advice, because what I started off was with iOS at the beginning and then Android, and for the past 2 years, I think, with Windows now. But for Windows, I can tell you, man, it's unpredictable.
Wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not like iOS and Android. iOS and Android, you have specific scenarios and you can play with it, and it's easy because it's all cloud native.
Well,
as for Windows, it's always different.
It's not even that. I wrote about this in my recent series. The problem is, when iOS came into the enterprise, there was no old way. It was, we want to introduce smartphones and tablets. How do we manage them? With Windows, you're not just dealing with Intune. You're dealing with Intune on top of decades of a different way. So it's harder because you're transitioning. So I'm not saying it was easier for the folks doing Apple. I mean, MDM was amazing and having that, but it's not like you had to say, well, which policies are we going to keep? No, you just thought of your security posture. I want to introduce a phone into my environment. I want it to get mail. I don't want it to download. I don't want it to copy and paste. Okay, those are your policies. For Windows, it's like, okay, well, now I have to think about my modern policy, my old stuff, my transition. I got to deal with the people who. So that's where a lot of that comes from, which for me makes it very interesting. But yeah, pick a goal. If the goal is to enroll a Windows device, it's that. Then you move on to another goal. I got it enrolled. How do I push an app? Figure out how to push an app. Like, the goals will keep you focused, because to learn a platform, to learn anything without context is a terrible idea. You won't retain it because you don't care. You have to care in order to learn. If you care about the end goal, you will learn till you get to the goal. It's my advice. I mean, so.
Where you, as Steve Weiner, where do you see yourself? I'm not this sounds like an interview question. No, I mean, what's your next step? I mean, for the guys, a lot of guys in the community, they went from blogs from blogs to tools to commercialize tools, and then authors. They produce books. Where do you? I mean, what's your next step? Or you just do what you enjoy for them, or you don't think of what's after what exceeded a week. I wouldn't think about it.
I would like to continue to be an MVP. So I'm hoping, because that allows me to reach more people. I was approached about a book, but I said no because I don't think I could write a book. At least right now. I think it would be time consuming, and I think I would be terrible at it. I would like to do, I can tell you some immediate plans are, starting next month, we're going to take the channel into a broader approach. Everyone always asks me who I'm talking to when I'm beginning.
Yeah, okay.
So
is it Dean?
It almost was Dean. Get Rubik's does have a silent partner. right?
Okay.
And finally, I'm going to start bringing him on, and we're hoping to expand this from just Intune endpoint to more modern management for the security stuff, Defender, maybe some DevOps, but with the same type of interested approach. So I do want to expand. I want to start doing weekly live streams as well. So
Interesting.
maybe not massive moves, but I want to be able to, I want to have the content be more accessible, different styles. I want to reach more people. Yeah, ultimately, that's what I want to do. I just want to keep helping people adopt this platform and make their lives easier, help people get the biggest compliment I can get is people reach out to me and say, what I've learned from your stuff helped me get a better job, or help me do this, or help me. That's, there's no money that can equal that. So I just want to keep helping people adopt this. And if I keep getting MVP every year because of it, and that helps me, it's a mutual thing. So that's my plan for right now.
I mean, man, I mean, I could relate to everything you say. I mean, for me, even when I started with this social media, blogs and videos, I didn't really think of what's the next job. I mean, I was just, started off as a curious person. I just want to help people. And I thought, okay, a lot of people are doing like those technical videos like yours. And I was like, okay, I mean, I don't want to do the same thing. Maybe I could have like some sort of a niche. Then I was like, maybe I could interview those people to bring them to present their tools, especially, let's say, Andrew Taylor, Sumash, Yannick. They have great tools, and other people as
Yep.
yes, but it's just they don't have like a proper demo, or they have like a really short video, but they don't really talk about it. Then I was like, okay, maybe I just do a podcast where I just bring in those incredible people and just talk to them, who they are and why they are doing this, and just to show how genuine and passionate about their work, like yours. I mean, Steve, this been a wonderful time. Honestly, I mean, really, I mean, I did not really expect it to be like this. Chat for an hour and a half. This is just crazy. I enjoyed, honestly, each minute with you.
Me too. It was a great talk. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely love to have you again after Ignite to have your reaction.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, definitely I would love to have you back. Thank you again, Steve. Lovely to have you, and I will see you after Ignite.
You will, yeah.
Absolutely. You have my cheers from here, from from Germany.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, then. Cheers.